Hello everyone. In this video I will take a look at my brand new Bambu Labs printer, and I will of course connect it to my Magic Mirror, and I will start monitoring my printouts and to see what's going on when it's ready and if it fails or something like that. So welcome and hope you enjoy. So I have this new Bambu Labs 3D printer. It's a P1s. And it's so far it seems very solid and it works very well. But of course I want to connect this one to my Magic Mirror, and I want to monitor the printouts so I can see when they are ready and what's going on. There's a really good software included, so you can of course monitor everything through your phone with an app and also through the web, and it's connected to the cloud if you want that, and so on. But being me, I want to have more control of it, so I want to access it directly to be enabled to get the status from the printer directly. So let's have a look at how we can do this. So the first step is quite easy. We need to change the settings on the printer to LAN only mode. This will actually disable the cloud integration. So if you want the cloud integration, this is not a good idea. You will still be able to use your software in your PC to upload printouts and monitor and see the camera and so on. So that will still work, but it will put the printer in LAN only mode. And when you do that, you also get an access code. And the access code here we will use later on when we connect to the printer. But you can still use, as I said, the software on your PC. You just connect the printer in LAN mode instead. So that works fine. The next thing we want to do is find out how we can communicate with the printer. And after some research on the net, I tried to use REST APIs just to check the status of the printer, but I really didn't get that to work. It seems like it's supposed to work, but I never found a way to do it and to get any replies from the printer. So what I did instead was that I set up an MQTT connection. And one good thing here is actually because then you subscribe to a message from the printer, and you will get instant feedback whenever there are messages from the printer, and you can monitor that and act on that. So you don't really need to poll the printer as you would have to do with REST APIs. So that's one good thing. The first thing I want to do is to install the MQTT library on my Raspberry. And there are probably other libraries out there, but I use this one, PAHO MQTT, and I will put a link in the description. And you just install that in your Raspberry with the command here. And that's really all you need. And then we can start doing the Python coding. So before I start coding, I want to test this in Postman. And if you haven't used Postman before, it's a great tool for checking REST APIs and even MQTT and other stuff. So it's really helpful when you try to find out how APIs works and so on. So I always use that first. So what I've done here is that I've created a request of the type MQTT. I've set it to version 3 because that is needed for the Bambu Labs printers. I set the IP address of my printer and also the MQTT SSL port as default, which is what is used for communicating. We also need to set up the authorization. We do that on the authorization tab. It's basic authentication. Username is always BBLP. And then we have the access code. That is the access code that you get from your printer, and you put it in here. MQTT works in the way that you subscribe to information, and you can do that with Postman as well. So if we have a look at topics, as it's called here, we need to set up a topic. And this is the only topic I have found works with my printer. It's device slash the serial number, which you also get from your printer, slash report. And all the information that you have seen and I will show later on, it comes from this subscription. Then we also say subscribe. And I need to start the printer to get this to work. So the printer is running. Let's see if we can connect. Yeah, and we can see that we directly get some messages back here. So as you can see, it's very easy to monitor and test and see the information here in Postman. You can see all the messages coming in. You can test different subscriptions. Really nice way of debugging this. So now we know it works. And now we only have to replicate this in Python as well. So let's move into the Python coding. I'm using Visual Studio Code with the Python extension to do this development, and I can do it online with my Magic Mirror or the Raspberry. It's really convenient for debugging and so on, as you will see later on. If you haven't watched my earlier videos with Magic Mirror, I suggest you go back and watch a few of them. Because then you will get the background to what I'm doing here. In this video, I would only talk about implementing the communication with the Bambu Labs printer. So let's start with that. First of all, we want to load the library that we installed, the Power library for MQTT communication. So we will import that. And then I have prepared a function here, or a class here, that will handle the communication with the Bambu printer. And here I will go through quite thoroughly because there are some important things here that you need to consider and that you need to get correct in order to be able to communicate with it. And some of them are not so easily found on the internet. So I've been doing quite a lot of digging here. So if we start with some of the settings in the beginning here. First of all, we will be using the default port 8883, and that's the default port for SSL on MQTT. We will need to have a username where we connect to it. This will always be BBLP. We will need to have a password, and this is the access code that I showed earlier that you get from your printer when putting it into LAN-only mode. And then you can also find your serial number in the menus of your printer. We need to set the client ID. This can be anything, I think, but it needs to be set. And then I have a couple of variables that I will just use to store the information that I get back from the printer. So if we have a look at the first function of the class, we will initiate the communication. And when we initiate the communication, we will also subscribe to a message from the printer. The Bambu Labs printer only have one message, at least my model. So that will be used to retrieve all the information that we can get from the printer. And the first we want to do is to initiate the MQTT class. And there are some important settings here. First of all, we need to have the correct callback version, like this, version 2. We need to set a client ID. And we need to set the protocol. This is also really important that you get the version 3.11. Otherwise, it will not work in the communication. Initiating the class, and then we will set our password and username. And as you saw, it was the default username, and the access code is the password. And then this one is also very important, for since they are using the default SSL port for the communication, the library assumes SSL communication, and it will fail on the certificate because the certificate is not valid in the printer. So be able to communicate with SSL, even though we don't have a valid certificate, we need to disable the checking of the certificate. And that is what we do here. We turn the certificate check to none. So you need to get that into your code, and you also need to turn off the TLS setting, insecure communication, to true. We will only be communicating on the local LAN, so this is okay, at least for me. Then we also want to set up some callback functions. We have one for connect, we have one when we get a message, and we have one for disconnect. And we will also configure those functions, of course. To initiate the actual communication, we will check if it's connected or not here. If it's not connected, we will connect. Nothing special here. We will connect with the MQTT client. We will start a loop so that we can receive messages from the printer. If it fails, we will sleep for 60 seconds. I will have this in a separate thread. I will show that later. So this will be running in a separate thread in the Raspberry. So it's okay to sleep here. And we will sleep for 60 seconds, and then we'll try again. On successful connect, then, this function will be automatically called. And what we will do is we will add the subscription. And the subscription in this case, I have only found one way of subscribing to anything. And it must be in this format, device/serial number. So here we will use the serial number of your printer and /report. If you find others, let me know, but this is the only subscription that I have found that works actually. So that will tell the system, send back information or messages for me subscribing to this channel. And then hopefully we will get the message back. So on message, we will receive this. And here you can see that I will receive the payload in the message. The message format is here. I will take the payload and put that into a variable for the JSON. And I will print it so you can see it here later on. And then in the JSON, I will check for different parameters that I want. Here I have remaining time for a print, percentage complete, nozzle temperature. I have the state of the printer saying if it's running or not. I have more information on what's doing, and I have the bed temperature. So this is just a few examples. And then I also have a few other things down here that could be good to have, because in my case I will turn off the printer when I'm not using it, and that means that I will lose connection. That means it will be disconnected. So on disconnect, I will reconnect. I will call the function reconnect. And the function reconnect here, we have a while loop that will try and reconnect. And it will actually increase the time between the tries. So if it's just a short interruption, it will reconnect quite quickly. But in the end, it will try every 60 seconds to reconnect. So once a minute it will connect. That means that when I turn on the printer again, my magic mirror will automatically connect within 60 seconds and retrieve the states from the printer. Here you can find your own way to do this, but I think the basic steps are here, and it seems to work well for me so far. So before we start testing this, we will just see a few more details. I said I had created this class, and that means that I also need to initiate the class. And I do that in my main function of the code. So let's uncomment this. And here you can see that I'm initiating the class. I could have more Bambu printers if I want. I set the IP address, I set the port again. I get the username and access code from my credentials file and also the serial number. So this is just initiating the class. And a bit further down, I will actually start the task as well. Let's see, here it is. So I will uncomment this. And here you can see I started in a separate thread, so it can sleep and it can do its own thing in that thread. And this is actually how I do with most of my functions in the Magic Mirror. I initiate them as separate threads, and then they will run in a while loop and do whatever they need to do and wait if they need to wait. So with this, I think we will have the communication set up. So the next thing is to start this and have a look at what we get back. So I set the breakpoint on the connect function and also on the message. So we will see that it's coming into that. So can you see we ended up in the connect function, and just to see that it's subscribing, we can see it worked fine to subscribe. Now we'll let it run, and hopefully, yeah, I already get the message. And we will print that message. A quick look. See down below here. This is the message I got. I will let it run. Sorry. Because we will get different types of messages here. So sometimes we will only get a short status here, like this. I will remove the breakpoint. Here you can see I get some more information. And we get a bit longer message as well. So it's not printing right now, so we will not see so much. But we can at least see one thing, and that is we always get the print tag here in the beginning of the JSON, and that's also what I found out, that no matter what type of message I get back, it will start with print, and then we'll have more or less of the different information. You can see the bed temperature, you can see the Wi-Fi strength. And this is also why I need to check for my my JSON every time. So you can see here that if I receive print, which I will probably do all the time, I will still check if this variable is in the response under print, because it can look a bit different, the formats. So I will need to check for each and every one of these. I can't expect everything to be there. And since we are running now, I will also show you the disconnect. I will turn off the printer. It will take some time before it times out. So here it timed out, took a bit, I think 60 seconds or something. Then we can see that we will go into the reconnect loop. So it will try to reconnect, and then it will stay in this loop. I will remove the breakpoint, and I've set a new breakpoint on the message up here. And then I will turn the printer back on. And here we come into the loop which successfully reconnected. And we are connected here, yeah. And then we start getting the messages again. So this works nicely. So I've started the printer now. So now we will get a bit more information back. It's a larger JSON information. We can see, for example, the nozzle temperature here starting to increase. And it's sending more information since there are more changes in the printer. Waiting for a big status message here. I think we have it up here. Yeah, here we have a lot bigger message with a lot more information. So let's have a look at that in a better viewer. Here we can see the full JSON when it's running. You can see percentage complete, remaining time. We have the status, and also the file name that is of the printout. Quite a lot of useful information here that we can extract if needed. If we take a quick look at Bambu Labs software, it looks like this. So I guess the information you can see here you could retrieve in the JSON file as well. This is a different printout, but it's the same. Works in the same way. So it's quite a nice software. I have no plans right now to stream the camera, but that's maybe something that could be done in the future. And as you can see here, I'm in LAN only mode, and I'm still using the local client on my PC, and that works fine. So of course I want to get this information on my Magic Mirror, so I need to send some information back to the web server, to the Flask web server. So I added a few things that I want to monitor here: the file names, temperatures, percentage complete, and also the time when it will be ready. That's nice to have. And if you take a quick look at the HTML file, you can see the section down here, quite straightforward, showing the data, some different colors depending on the status. And I will also hide this if the printer is not running. And here you can see it live. So quite nice information, I think. and that this disappears when it's not running. And I can see when it's ready and temperatures and progress and so on. So I know it's printing and everything is working as it should. So I'm really happy with that, and that will be good enough for me for this video. So.